Lord knows it's tough. It gets rough.
Friends and relatives, welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We talk about NXT from April the 4th, the Mongo's birthday edition of NXT. I had a German chocolate cake, had some plain vanilla ice cream, and I sat down and you know what? Shawn Michaels actually served up a very good episode of NXT. So I did okay. Appreciate everybody who wished me happy birthday. Appreciate it to people who sent gifts via Cash App or whatever. Thank you so much. Don't feel the need to do so just because other people did it, but I appreciated it nonetheless. I promise not to spend frivolously. So I appreciate everybody, man. Thank you for tuning into the show. So, like I said, this was a pretty good episode of NXT. I kind of like Shawn Michaels again. There's still some stuff wrong, but I kind of like Shawn Michaels again. I'm not angry at him anymore. And this was infinitely better than Raw. Infinitely better than Raw. Okay. Before we get into the show, the Grizzly Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson, they quit NXT apparently after their match was put on the pre-show of NXT Stand and Deliver. They were put in Schism, and it wasn't going too well for them, but the Grizzly Young Veterans, who were an NXT UK tag team, were brought over to the United States in about 2020, maybe 2021. They never got over, despite the fact that they're one of those teams that is a work rate team, where Zach Gibson does have some verbal skills, but they never got over in front of the American audience, and so therefore they were floundering for a really long time. And they asked for their release, and it was quite quickly granted, apparently. So the 2 members of Schism are gone. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who like to pretend that they care about these kinds of people. You know, like, I'm not going to diss them completely, because I do think they were talented, but they just didn't connect with an American audience. So literally, we aren't missing anything. If they go and light up AEW Dark, or they go back to the European Indies or something like that, that'll be great. You know, it'll be great for them, but it wasn't working in NXT. It didn't work. So that explains why they were in Schism, and it explains why they got bumped down to the pre-show, because Schism wasn't really working either. So now we're in a bad situation, however, because they put The Rock's daughter, Ava Raine, in this stable, which of course gave the stable more visibility. And then these 2 guys quit. So now the only 2 members of the stable are Joe Gacy and Ava Raine, which is wild, because this is the second time that Joe Gacy's underlings, well, let me correct myself. This is the second time Joe Gacy has found himself with underlings that magically disappeared. Remember, he had the underling, what they call Baby Brock, who was dressed like Nails, and then he got released in the mass releases. And now the 2 members of Schism, which I forget what they were called in the Schism, the Dyad, they were fired, or they quit, and they were essentially granted their release. So Joe Gacy has a really bad track record with talent. He just can't hold on to followers. I wonder if they're going to be replaced, or are we just going to drop Schism totally? And I don't know. Like, maybe we should fold Schism into something else. I don't know. Maybe we should just call Schism up. I don't know, or just call Joe Gacy to the main roster or something. But the Grizzly Young Veterans, you probably saw people pretending that they were fans of them. I trust you, they weren't. I can almost guarantee you they weren't. I don't think they had any fans outside the internet. So, and when I mean the internet, I mean a small pocket of the internet that actually watches wrestling, follows it religiously, and even know who these people are, which is very few people. All right, let's get into the NXT, the show. So we start with Indy Hartwell. Ugh, I don't like Indy Hartwell. I know before I was saying, hey, it's not that I don't like Indy Hartwell, it's just that the booking sucks or the story sucks. And I realized after great contemplation, no, I just don't like Indy Hartwell. She sucks. So we're watching this promo that she's making. I'm going to try to shave it a little bit. She said she didn't think this would ever happen because she had doubted herself, but the audience never doubted her, and she thanked them for that. She also thanked Roxanne Perez because without her, there would never have been a ladder match in the first place, and said that she would get the first shot. The crowd then booed Roxanne Perez getting the first title match, and that raised my eyebrow because I wasn't expecting people to actually boo Indy Hartwell wanting to give the champion who was never pinned a title match, so that was interesting. And then Moon Pie Face Zoe Stark comes out there. She talks about all the future Hall of Famers that have held the NXT championship and how Indy Hartwell isn't on their level, and then said that she's not on her level either, and says that she doesn't care about Roxanne as long as Roxanne goes to the back of the line. And she says, if you're willing to give away title matches, and give me a title match tonight. To which Indy Hartwell foolishly accepted. And I was sitting back, bated breath, saying to myself, I pitched when Stand and Deliver happened that Indy Hartwell needs to lose the title in her first defense in order to show that she had no business being champion in the first place. Like I said, she was basically Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental title, right? So they booked the match, and Zoe Stark is essentially carrying the match and calling the match, and you can tell. It's a solid enough match that Indy Hartwell wins. She won by a crucifix counter, and I wanted to puke all over the place. I wanted to cough up all of my my German chocolate cake. If I didn't love German chocolate cake so much, I'd spit everything out. It'd be like a enraged Muslim, just spit on the floor like, tuh! Like the Iron Sheik. Anyway, Indy Hartwell wins. Zoe Stark, of course, acted all surprised that Indy Hartwell rolled her up and won. I was disgusted. Seconds after Indy Hartwell's music started to play, Tiffany Stratton comes out. And I was like, okay, so now, now we're cooking. Because Tiffany Stratton is, she's probably next in line. But as Tiffany is in the aisleway yapping at Indy Hartwell, Cora Jade actually attacked her from behind, stomped on her a little bit, and wiped her feet and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I like this. So now we're up in the ante. Tiffany Stratton's there, but Cora Jade is a more immediate threat because she came in and actually physically assaulted Indy Hartwell. So as she's walking away, Cora Jade has a short stare down with Tiffany Stratton where she proclaims that she runs the division and that she's next in line. And Tiffany Stratton just kind of dismisses her, like, the hand thing that women do. And Cora Jade's walking off. So now everybody wants to know why Cora Jade did what she did, but we should know why. It's pretty simple already. But she's in the vaunted NXT parking lot when a woman walked up to her, who I swear to God, until she opened her mouth, I didn't know who it was. But it's apparently Lyra Valkyria, who she walked up to Cora Jade. They were supposed to have a feud before Cora Jade went on her sabbatical. I guess she had gotten injured. And she reminded Cora Jade that she cannot escape fate. So it's been about 2 months maybe since Lyra Valkyria and Cora Jade's feud was about to start. And they haven't forgotten. So even though Cora Jade is like she's about to be a top contender for the title, they ain't forgot that she's supposed to be feuding with Lyra Valkyria. So, okay, good. The women's championship scene is solid. I don't like Indy Hartwell. I think she's a beatable champion. I think she sucks. But, Tiffany Stratton as opponents, good. Cora Jade as an opponent, good. Lyra Valkyria as a potential opponent for Indy Hartwell and a feud with Cora Jade, good. I don't have no problems with this. This is solid. I like this. This is good stuff. Axiom then challenged Wesley to a singles match, to which Wesley accepted. This apparently took place in an airport or something to that effect. And I was like, wow, this guy is absolutely stalking Wesley. He's just everywhere Wesley wants to be. If Wesley went to the kitchen, Axiom is, already in there making a sandwich, asking him about the North American title. If he went to the bathroom, Axiom is handing him tissue like, hey, what's up with that North American title? If he goes to the mailbox, he opens the door, Axiom is standing there dressed like the postman. What's up with that North American title? It's like this dude is stalking. He's stalking Wesley over this title. So they decided to have the match, which is fine. The match was good. Axiom versus Wesley for the North American title. Really good match. This Axiom idea ain't working because, look, I always say that A-Kid looked too young and he's very small. But this Axiom thing is even worse than I imagined. He just looks ridiculous, right? He's a miniature man wearing a mask. Like we really need to be able to see his facial expressions and stuff like that. Anyway, Wesley wins the match clean. They shook hands following it. I thought Axiom was going to turn because I felt a heel turn in the air the whole night. And I figure Axiom might be the right one. He's been obsessed with the North American title for like a month now. It would have made sense for him to turn heel as, he finally gets that one-on-one match and he failed anyway. But they didn't. So it didn't go there. So Axiom is still in the ring, collecting his cheers for the really good match he just had. And then Scripps' voice starts playing over the loudspeaker and everything changes. And it's all this dark brooding stuff about seeing the hidden corners of Axiom's mind or whatever. And Axiom is like standing near the far ropes on the left side. And Scripps climbs the top rope and he jumps right into a super kick as Axiom turned around and kicked him right in the face. So they tried to put Scripps out there like he was some kind of sawed-off badass, only for his plan to promptly blow up in his face like it was put together by the Acme Corporation. Talk about ideas that aren't working. Axiom not working. Scripps not working at all. I think he needs to go back to being Reggie. He probably needs to go back to being Reggie because Scripps ain't working. He looks ridiculous, and they treat him like he's ridiculous. I believe they have done this match on Level Up a couple of times already, because the Axiom Scripps thing has been going on for a little while. It's been really under the radar because neither one of these guys are allowed to really cut promos or do anything. But it's been going on for a little while. But him kicking him in the face got a huge reaction from the crowd because, we all expected, him to get attacked while his back was turned. So it was a nice little subversive surprise that Scripps got kicked in the mouth. That was great. It made him look like an absolute goof, but hey, who cares? He already looks stupid. You can't help a guy who already looks dumb. All right. The first match on the show was Tony D'Angelo and Stax Lorenzo versus Pretty Deadly. And Pretty Deadly actually won this match with Tony D'Angelo taking the pin. That's the only thing about this I didn't like. Well, there's two things about this I didn't like. I didn't like Tony D'Angelo losing. And I didn't like Tony D'Angelo taking the pinfall. Pretty Deadly do a little bit of twin magic, which, technically they're not twins. But, when Tony D'Angelo figures out that he's about to brutalize the wrong one, then the other one rips the turnbuckle pad off and shoves Tony D'Angelo into it. Then it's a roll-up pin. So Pretty Deadly, they cheated, but I'm not a fan of Tony D'Angelo just taking losses here. That's not good. It's making me feel like he's so lost in the weeds that he's now losing to Pretty Deadly, who have been treated like the Miz for the last 2 months. They've just been getting kicked around. It ain't been working out for them. They've been treated like potato sacks for the last 2 weeks, and all of a sudden they beating Tony D and Stax. What the hell did Tony D and Stax do? Did he fail like a drug test or something like that? That didn't make any sense. But Pretty Deadly, they win. Okay. Match was solid though. See, Gigi Dolan, she gets a promo cut on her by JC Jane. JC Jane once again calls Gigi Dolan pathetic. Says that she really thought she was going to win that championship, but delusion is a disease. She broke Gigi's face. She broke her heart, and now she's going to break her will. Okay, I like JC Jane. JC Jane is far more interesting right now. I've been saying that even when they both were heels. I know people are going to be like, well, it's easy to be, because she's a heel. I'm like, no. I like JC Jane when they were both heels. She's really good at being mean. And that's what you need. You need that skill set. All right. The second match on the show was Dijak versus Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones loses again, and I question this decision. I'm saying to myself, why the hell is Odyssey Jones a job guy? You know, I don't get it. Odyssey Jones and Zion Quinn and Ivy Nile. Those three being essentially jobbers is the oddest decision making that Sean is doing. I'm really questioning his decisions. When, Odyssey Jones, a guy who looks like that, is basically just a big happy-go-lucky loser. It's like, this dude is happy every time you see him, and he never fucking wins. Dijak continues to have the charisma of a black hole. Guy's got charisma of an enema, and he continues to be on TV and used and wins. I don't get it. Don't get it, don't like it. There was a Dragon Lee vignette, which ruled because there was a Dragon Lee match. Dragon Lee versus Nathan Frazer, a match for no reason, but it was a fantastic match. It was a true banger. This was good. During this match, Noam Dar appears, and he's got the NXT Heritage Cup. Let's take a moment to ruminate on this for a moment. Noam Dar, who, when I saw him, I searched for his name in my mind, and I couldn't come up with it. Noam Dar was not fired when WWE closed NXT UK. He has been under contract by WWE since at least 2016, at the very least. I'm pretty sure it might have been 2015. Noam Dar has been under contract since he was like 22 years old. He's got to be almost 30 now. All right. He was on NXT UK. He's been missing for about a year. Well, maybe not a year, maybe 8 months or something like that. It's been a long time. Let's put it like that. When somebody like this just appears out of nowhere, you're going to get a lot of who is this guy? Now, the NXT audience is kind of knowledgeable, but Noam Dar has not been featured on WWE TV since there was a cruiserweight division. All right. That's how long ago and it ain't been a cruiserweight division in over 3 years. Because I think the cruiserweight division got closed up in 2020, right? Well, it got sent to NXT in 2020. Okay? Because it was a pandemic thing, right? And then they got rid of it in 2021, I believe. So nobody knows who this guy is. Like, you have to be a really, really hardcore NXT guy to remember Noam Dar. Because I'm pretty sure most of these people did not watch NXT UK. So they don't know who the fuck Noam Dar is. So you don't tell anybody who he is. You pretend like everybody's supposed to know, which is, again, the wrong way to do it. And then they double down on the stupidity by bringing this NXT UK Heritage Cup, which is supposed to be a European rules type of championship. They brought it to NXT. Now, Noam Dar was the last one who was the Heritage Cup champion before NXT UK was shuttered. So this is continuity at the very least. That being said, they did not explain what this Heritage Cup was. They let people see it. Noam Dar acting like it's a big deal. We don't know what it is. They never told you what it is. Now, I know what it is because I watched NXT UK, but I don't expect everybody to know the tough stuff that I know. I don't expect a random NXT watcher to know this. If you're going to introduce this stuff, you should probably tell people about it. It's Shawn Michaels falling into the Tony Khan disaster of let's just throw shit on TV. And that's it. That's all we'll do. Here's another thing that I'm thinking of. Does NXT's men's division need another championship? They already have 2. Do they need 3? All right, so now the NXT Heritage Cup, it is a rounds system. It's 2 out of 3 falls. Mandatory, I think, is 6 2-minute rounds or something like that. Or is it something? It's something to that effect. It's like 6 2-minute rounds or something. And if you win 2 rounds, you win. That's usually the idea. Regardless, I think I think it goes to a time limit or something like that. Look, the Heritage Cup is kind of confusing. Hopefully they change the rules. But I like the idea of it having unique rules. Like I've said before, and I go to the Eric Bischoff school of things should matter things should be different from each other. The Heritage Cup is different from anything NXT has. It's going to be the closest thing to a television championship that they have. The NXT UK Heritage Cup brought good matches. There were some really good matches that spun out of that thing. So I am not upset that they're bringing the Heritage Cup. I like it. It's fine. It's different. It might not be for everyone, but it's a unique gimmick, okay? The problem is they didn't introduce it. They didn't break it down so people can understand it. They can't have Noam Dar with it. Nobody knows who he is. So we're sitting here like, okay, we got a guy we don't know with a cup we don't know anything about. And we're just stuck with this. And you would think that they would kind of... Now, clearly they were teasing that he's scouting, because he's going to return to NXT and all this kind of stuff. And he's bringing the cup with him. They're going to force him to defend it eventually. And you would think, okay, they're creating a new division. And Dragon Lee and Nathan Fraser are two guys that they're looking for in that division. Considering they're not thinking about moving Wes Lee's championship, they're going to move the Heritage Cup. So it's likely that Noam Dar is probably going to end up in a feud with Nathan Fraser, or Dragon Lee ends up dropping the Heritage Cup. Now, the good thing about the Heritage Cup is it's one-on-one. There is no triple threat matches. There's no fatal four-ways. That's awesome, because the rules don't allow for there to be the triple threat match or a fatal four-way, unless they jimmy the rules and, you can do whatever you want, which I don't like. But it's supposed to be British rules. So whatever the British rules are, I don't want to get into the weeds again, but whatever the British rules are, that's what it's supposed to be. Okay, so later, Nathan Fraser loses to Dragon Lee. It was a really good match. Nathan Fraser cuts a promo to which he says that he believes he could turn it around because 2022 wasn't a really good year for him. And he believes he's had his moment of enlightenment and his perspective has changed. These guys are very well spoken. These Axioms and these Nathan Frasers, they're very well spoken. And to be quite honest, it might be too well spoken. It might be too proper. Now, Nathan Fraser is like Welsh or something like that. He's not Welsh. What is he? He's from Jersey. So, whatever. He's like some British guy, some English guy. So him being kind of proper, it is what it is. But it will be easier if these guys spoke in a little bit more, not like Gallus, with heavy accents and a lot of slang that nobody understands, but if they spoke a little bit less formal. Like one of the problems with like Tyler Bate and, like I said, Axiom or Nathan Fraser, they come across as being very formal. JD McDonough kind of is too. It's like, they use $10 words when a $5 word would do, and it comes across like somebody wrote this instead of just coming across as guys speaking how they feel. But if this means that he's going to eventually turn heel, because Nathan Fraser needs something. He was highly touted when they brought him in. I remember he was one of those guys that he appeared on AEW Dark or Dynamite or something like that, and WWE immediately snatched him up. He was tremendous, super fast, athletic as hell. Of course, we needed to slow him down, teach him how to tell stories and stuff like that, which they've been trying to do. And he has improved in that regard. Then they sent him over to NXT UK. He was having banger matches over there, but he was losing all the time. He had bangers with Walter and Ilya Dragunov and, JD McDonough. He was over there killing it. But he's never had a character. And here it is. He's been on NXT on TV for like a year now. He still doesn't have a character. Still no character. So they need to do something with this guy. He's too good for you to just leave in the lurch like this. Him just being a guy who shows up and gets pinned. Shows up, good match, gets pinned. That ain't the wave of the future. I can tell you that much. But I'm interested in how they're going to utilize this Heritage Cup. I can hear all the harpies now. Oh, the women should get 2 championships. The men got 3. I can see them doing something like that for NXT too. Creating another championship for the women. I've always said if they ever had a television title, it should be for the women. You know, a title with a time limit. An NWA television title, like 6 minutes. 6 minutes, Corey J, you're on. So it goes to show I ain't growing up at all. I'm just getting older. In any event, a third title, I don't know, whatever. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. All right, so Joe Coffey is back. He speaks. He's just saying that his brother and Wolfgang, they're the tag team champions, and he wants to bring some gold to Gallus. And I'm guessing he's gonna go after Wesley. I like Joe Coffey. I legitimately do. He's a tough talking, Scot, and I liked him in NXT UK, but he was always sort of a gatekeeper. Hopefully he can shake that perspective now, that he could be more than a gatekeeper. But he's a decent looking guy. He's like a guy who would have been a solid mid card heel in the 80s. He reminds me a lot of like the Big Boss Man. Probably not as smooth, but he reminds me of like being in that tier where he's gonna be like your enforcer, your bruiser, you're a tough guy. You can get past him. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so Chase U, they cut a promo. Andre Chase was very excited about defeating Schism. He calls Tyler Bate honorary alumni for Chase University, and he gives him credit for helping them win the match. Duke Hudson is upset. He wants the credit because he's the one who got the pin. He's the one who deceived Joe Gacy in order to get the win. And, Andre Chase says, well, I didn't think you would be interested in that sort of thing. This is a good callback to Andre Chase when he was throwing a celebration for Thea Hale, because Thea Hale won her first match, and Duke Hudson said that they were losers because they were celebrating a match winning one match when they lose all the time. So Duke Hudson says, "Oh look, this match was a match worth honoring because I saved the school." And so Andre Chase said, "You know what? You're right. So we're going to give you an MVP trophy." That's going to go down terribly. I can say that already. Something bad's about to happen in that joint. Can't wait. Fire and Dawn cut a promo, says that they have now seized the seats of power and that they will burn all opposition to the ground, but they didn't go scorched earth. They're not done with their troubles. This, of course, leads to Kiana James and Fallon Henley. They get a rematch. But before they get their rematch, Fallon Henley outed Kiana James as cheating on Brooks Jensen. And it was so anticlimactic when she says, you got a lot of nerve when you're cheating on him. And Jensen was like, you're cheating on me? And then she immediately, Kiana James being, says that they were never exclusive. So she was dating around. So they were never exclusive. But all that changed when they had their first kiss. Now she feels like it might be serious. What? 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 Now it's starting to feel like these kids came up with this shit on their own. I don't think Sean would have come up with this, could he? She's just dating around, she's just doing what young people do. And I'm like, I don't know about that one, dog. I don't think Sean come up with this one. I think the NXT writing staff came up with this one. Maybe Road Dogg came up with it. I don't know if Sean came up with this one on his own. Anyway, Brooks Jensen, being the virgin that he is, blames himself for his girlfriend messing around by basically saying, I should have told her we were exclusive. And then he promptly tells Fallon Henley to stay out of his business. And she was like, I was just trying to help. But anyway, they have a tag team title match next week. And okie dokie. I wanted this to be a bigger deal than it turned out to be. So I'm just in it for the ride now, boss. Who cares? Ivy Nile defeated Tatum Paxley. This was a feud that began 3 weeks ago, and they did not touch on it one iota in 3 weeks. I had forgotten it was even a feud. This is AEW level booking. I forgot they were even feuding. Oh my goodness. That being said, though, the match was, it was okay. Ivy Nile wins by submission. This thing seems like it's over. Tatum Paxley never really got out of the box, if we're being honest. She has some potential, though. All right, Ilya Dragunov cut a promo saying that he likes to chase monsters and seek new challenges, and he was close to being the North American champion. Von Wagner got in his face about him losing at Stand and Deliver, to which Dragunov responded, at least I was invited. You weren't even invited to the fight. So Von Wagner wants to fight him. So Robert Stone gets in between the two of them. Dragunov goes on his own way. Robert Stone wants to know why. Why does Von Wagner want to pick on the Mad Dragon? Why does he want to do this? Von Wagner's like, I got my reasons. I don't care about this. Ultimately, Robert Stone agrees to let Von Wagner face Ilya Dragunov next week under the stipulation that if he loses, their relationship is over. So Von Wagner is about to drop 120 pounds of dead weight because he's certainly not beating Ilya Dragunov next week. Dragunov is absolutely spinning his wheels in NXT. I have no idea what he's doing. I have the idea that we should probably put Dragunov in Imperium. I know a lot of people are going to be like, no, he's one of Walter's greatest opponents. Why would you do that? It's like, because nobody fucking knows that. You know, I guarantee you the regular red-blooded American don't know shit about Dragunov versus Walter on the network. I guarantee you they don't know that shit. But what you can do is you can add Dragunov to Imperium. He can work alongside Walter for a while, and then when Imperium starts to break up, he can feud with them. That way, people will actually care, especially if you tell the story in the right way, which is that Dragunov, despite being a heel, is pretty honorable. He likes a one-on-one fight. You know, he enjoys the battle, the combat of it. Maybe he disagrees with Walter's cheating. Maybe him and Walter have a philosophical difference or whatever, and then they start to fall apart, and then Dragunov goes off on his own as a babyface, you know, being who and what he is. But I think if you're going to use Dragunov on the main roster with his size, it's better if you put him with somebody else. And I think there's no better place for him than with Imperium. I think he fits perfectly with Imperium. And you can get away from this stupid fucking music that they gave him, which is honestly some of the worst music in the business. It's awful, by the way. All right, they did a vignette, a 3-for-1 vignette where they're featuring Danny Palmer, Tank Ledger, and some other guy. And I was like, wow, these are 3 generic looking people. These 3 people are very generic looking. When I started looking at the promos, I thought it was another breakout tournament. I was like, it's about time for another breakout tournament, sure. But I was like, these 3 people, they look like it's not going to be a stable. It look like it's just 3 people that they just want to make you aware that they are coming. It's like, just break this up. Show me who these people are individually. You know, don't just show me 3 randos straight from the asshole of the performance center. And you're like, we're bringing these people up. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't care about any of these people. Who the fuck is Tank Ledger? Who is Danny Palmer? Who are these people? You know, that's not helping. Got to do better on introducing talent. This is the difference when Vince took over NXT and Vince and Bruce took over NXT. There was fucking vignettes. It was hundreds of vignettes throughout the show. This new character is coming. This new character is coming. This new character is coming. There was constant. It was too much, to be quite honest. It was too much at one time, but at least they were introducing these characters individually. You get a backstory. You get what they look like. You get what the character is all about. You get the core of the character pretty quickly. After one vignette, you really kind of get it, you know? But they do more than one because, you're telling a story. And then you debut. I'll never forget, Tony D'Angelo debuted to a massive reaction because the vignettes had served their purpose. The vignettes had did their part. Now that they are moving away from vignettes, I don't understand why they would. Why do this? If you're going to push Tank Ledger, whoever this guy is, if you feel so comfortable about it, do a vignette for him. Tell me who he is, for Christ's sake. Or introduce him in a different way, like they did with Hank Walker. They introduced him through something else. They introduced him through being an extra and kind of worked his way back into the ring, which is also fine. I don't have no problem with that. All right, so the main segment, the closing segment, Carmelo Hayes. This was tremendous. This was very good. Carmelo Hayes talked about for 18 months he kept his eye on the prize, his eye on that number one spot. Him and Trick Williams started singing Nelly. I am number one. Yeah, 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 yeah. Then he said he wanted to give Bron Breakker his flowers. The crowd actually booed this. They didn't want him to give Bron Breakker no credit, but said that, look, hear him out. He wants to show Bron Breakker some respect. So Bron comes out, says that he gave the championship to Carmelo Hayes because that's what he was taught, that you pass the torch in a respectful way. Ciampa taught him this, so he did it for Carmelo Hayes. It's the him era. And they shook hands. And then he says, look, it's not just about us who do this in the ring. It's also about the audience, and we listen to the audience. We hear you. We're listening. And when he said that, I was like, heel turn coming. Give it to me. Heel turn coming. All right? When you say I'm listening to the audience, after they just cheered for Melo, after they just booed him, okay. So he's about to leave. Carmelo Hayes actually asked him to come back so they can pose in the ring together. And they do so, and then Bron Breakker takes his head off. This lariat, clothesline. Then he knocks down Trick Williams. Then he spears Carmelo Hayes. And he didn't go overboard, but he taught him something. He ripped his shirt and threw it on top of him. The crowd went from booing him when he was a babyface to chanting one more time after he took out Carmelo and Trick. And I was like, these fucking people, the audacity of these fucking people. You booed this kid. You pushed for him to turn heel. You booed him and pushed him to turn heel. And then as soon as he did it, you cheer. What the fuck? This guy who he just beat up was the guy you were just cheering for. Melo. Oh shit, he beat up Melo. One more time. Oh no. What is this? The audience are the heels. That's really what it boils down to, okay? In 1998, the audience turned heel. Well, 1997, technically. Now these people only like the heels. It's ridiculous. Now, after Stand and Deliver, I kind of called that Bron Breakker needed to turn heel. It was getting to the point where there needed to be something to make him interesting, especially if he wasn't getting called up. Then he needed something, and this is it. A heel turn is perfect. I like it. This works. Carmelo Hayes was organically turning babyface anyway. I don't really like the execution of it, but I like it. I probably would have had Bron Breakker attack him in the parking lot or something like that. Something a little bit more dramatic, because you could see this coming a mile away. So that's the only thing I really had a problem with, is that you could see it coming a mile away. But that crowd flipping, it was a double turn. It's always a double turn. As soon as Bron turned, the audience turned too. Now the audience likes Bron. It's ridiculous. If I could offer one more critique, it is that the crowd supported Carmelo Hayes, even when Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams obviously cheated in order to win their championship. Well, Carmelo's championship. It was kind of weird to me that Carmelo Hayes was acting like a babyface, shaking hands and, soaking in all the adulation and all this sort of stuff, when he only won because Trick Williams got in the ring and hit Bron Breakker in the back of the head with the belt. So I'm guessing this is going to be the catalyst for Bron Breakker's heel turn. And he showed respect, even though Carmelo Hayes cheated, and Carmelo Hayes doesn't really deserve his respect because he didn't really beat him one-on-one straight up. Okay. You probably should have had Bron Breakker say that from the beginning. Maybe have him be a sore loser. And, Carmelo Hayes notes that he's a sore loser. And then Bron Breakker talks about him cheating and stuff like that. But I'll give them the space and the time to work on that story. So the last little piece of business here is that apparently there was a fire Vince chant on NXT. I personally did not hear that. I wasn't paying attention. I rarely pay attention to the NXT audience or any audience in particular. They're always chanting and saying weird stuff. That being said, this has been a topic or a talking point that's going on for a little while, that Endeavor should fire Vince because so many people complained about Monday Night Raw and thought the show was bad. I responded to a person who made a tweet about this. Cage Match had this Raw rated the worst Raw of all time. When it was like, okay, all right, look, it was an absolutely turgid episode of Monday Night Raw. You can't deny that one. I don't care who wrote it. Ultimately, though, I will say this: Endeavor had a very public situation a couple of months ago, where Dana White, the president of the UFC, slapped his wife in Mexico. It was on video. Everybody saw it. People was waiting to see what Endeavor was going to do. They did nothing. They just kind of sat by and was like, well, he apologized. He talked about it. We're moving on. Business is business. This is personal. And we're going to move on. Dana White was never charged with a crime. Therefore, he was not convicted of any crimes. And it was over as far as Endeavor was concerned. This is the one positive thing about WWE being owned by Endeavor, is that it seems to be somewhat woke proof. At least for right now, they know who their audience is in terms of UFC fans and pro wrestling fans, most of whom are not the dreaded SJWs or whatever the hell. And I hate to use that term because it's kind of corny and very 2016 YouTube, but that's what it is. Ari Emanuel and the Endeavor staff, they know the kinds of people that they're dealing with here. There have been people that have been adding Ari Emanuel on Twitter, and I just said, like, he did not know what kind of autism he bought himself into. He has no idea. He has absolutely no idea what the level of autism that he has bought himself into now that he's the boss of the WWE. And this kind of stuff is going to be a regularly occurring thing. People trying to at him, talking to him. Here's what Endeavor should do. This is what Endeavor should think. They're not going to be happy about this and that. And it's like, as long as they make money, they don't give a damn. Okay, there's talent that want to leave. It's like, okay, fine, who cares? Again, UFC just had a very public breakup with their heavyweight champion, who walked out, who refused to sign a new contract, who talked to, they've had fighters come out of nowhere talking about pay for years. Endeavor does not care. None of that is going to get Dana White fired. So a lot of people are just wasting their breath. But it's their breath to waste. Do your thing. If that's what you feel like makes you feel better, fine. But the fact that I didn't even hear the fire Vince chant means that it was probably just a small handful of people in the back somewhere who are politically motivated, and they don't really matter that much. So ultimately, if the NXT audience wants to do that, they're going to be very excited when Endeavor starts taking a look at NXT and the Performance Center and decide to start shaving things. And I'm very sure of anything that if there's going to be any major cuts in terms of talent, in terms of production, in terms of costs, it's probably going to be right there at NXT and the Performance Center. And these people are just basically digging their own graves for this brand. And it's very unfortunate, but I can see it. I can see it coming. I can see it coming a mile away. So I doubt Endeavor really cares, especially about WWE's least watched show. I doubt WWE or Endeavor care what the audience of their least watched program, which is a developmental program. I doubt they really care what these people think. All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up. I really enjoyed the show. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Thank you for all the happy birthdays, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap.